You're listening to the RM Podcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
John Sebastian,
and
Keith Cheatham.
Back again. Every Tuesday night live here on the Red Moon Podcast, 9 p.m., YouTube, Facebook. Catch us every single week. We love coming to you all, bringing you all the latest in movie headlines.
All the weeks.
Giving you another fine review this week. The review is fine, but is the movie good? We'll discuss in a little bit. But also, guys, we're getting ready. I think we put out a poll today.
We did.
September is coming to an end.
Yep.
Wake me up when September
Oh, God.
ends.
No.
Which one
Please
was that?
do.
It's freaking Green Day.
That's
Yeah,
Green
it
Day.
is.
Didn't we mention that the other like couple weeks ago?
The other week? Yeah, maybe.
I think so.
I don't know.
Because I didn't know. I
Yeah.
thought it was Linkin Park.
No. That was Green Day.
Forgot it was Green Day. But yeah, we were getting ready for the Halloween season. So a movie that we skipped a couple weeks ago, back in August, Candyman.
We to be fair, we were at the lake.
We
were going to review it, but by the time we got back to the lake, it was kind of
Candyman?
too late. Yeah.
Yeah, we were going to go see it in theaters.
We had talked about maybe going to see it at the lake, but we never did that either.
Candyman.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Hey, you're not looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
Don't look in the mirror. Don't look in the mirror, and it's
Oh.
okay.
Listen.
Don't try it. Don't try it.
Well, I was gonna try to keep leading you in to get all five. But
No.
I think Brandon's scared.
I was going
as
there,
she
but he
said
just
in the
stopped
movie.
me.
He got scared.
It's his
Don't
studio.
Don't say it.
I'm not
I
going to
like when she says that in the movie. She does that. Y'all
Oh,
don't
the
remember?
mom?
Yeah.
She's like, oh.
It's. Don't
But
go
instead of Candyman, we did Vacation Friends, and I mean,
there. Honestly,
I'm glad we did.
Vacation.
Yeah.
Vacation Friends was funny.
I didn't think it was
supposed
the
to be
best
funny.
movie, but it was better.
This
than
one wasn't
one.
supposed to be.
But
Oh.
we at least have it now to prep us for Halloween because we're doing something a little different. As you all know, for the last several years we've been doing the show. We always pick a theme for Halloween. And one year it was Hitchcock. One year it was, I think it was all
Will Smith?
What?
We've never did
All Will
Yeah,
Smith?
we've never done all. Yeah, I know.
We've done
Hitchcock, the
Oh.
movie with Will Smith.
that Hancock.
Oh, it was
Oh, it was
Hancock.
Hancock.
I was like, wait, what are y'all
Yeah.
talking about?
Dang.
Yeah, come
I
on.
just blew
Man,
that big
well, I went
time.
along with it.
That's something I would do.
I went along with it. I was
Wow.
gonna go with
Y'all
it.
both were wrong.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, that's
Jeez.
Yeah.
terrible.
Because he even came to my defense.
I was.
He
I was defending. It was like,
Hitchcock.
did you know what you're talking about?
Duh.
Hitchcock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I love
stupid
that
movie.
movie.
Yeah. I love that I finally look smart. Okay?
Yeah.
Not such a microchip brain anymore.
You-
Huh.
Brandon got one out of the very many that
I know
we
I
have
fail
on
every
him,
week, so it's really not a big deal.
Okay.
But no, we
did.
always have
And
a theme.
It's tallied.
Okay, good.
As of right now, but you
well,
know,
our theme for this
I can
year,
retally it at the end of the show if it changes. But
Hey, this ain't
if
Arizona.
you want to,
it may maybe being live. It'll
we could
you know.
announce the. I can let everybody know who's in the lead right now. But if we want to wait till the end of the show,
Well,
to
I got to
announce the
explain what we're
winners-
doing, though.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Because every year we
No,
always
I'm-
do a movie that's coming out.
it's always best when we keep talking and never explain what we're talking about.
That's true.
That's classically what
Go-
we do.
go ahead.
We,
Sorry.
we lead on in the worst ways.
Go ahead. Go
It's
ahead.
called teasing.
Yeah, that's true. And even then, it just pisses people off. But no, we usually review a movie that's come out that's relevant to now that comes out on a
Halloween,
given week,
you know.
and then we also do a Halloween movie based on the theme that we've picked. This year, we are actually focusing on the word happy in Happy Halloween.
Aw.
We are doing family-friendly films, and let me put it this way: regardless of how you feel about these movies, October is a stacked month
Oh yes.
for theatrical.
Well, the rest of the
releases.
year is. That's
Yeah.
actually what I was
Really?
trying to tell Sean before the podcast, and we went into a different rant.
Like we do, we tease.
Is that literally
and we just talk over
sprinkled
each
throughout
other.
the rest of the year is like 3 slow weeks. Every weekend, other than like those 3 weekends,
I'm ready.
is packed. You have we have No Time to Die,
Yeah.
007,
don't even remember 'em.
One Night in Soho, Dune,
Yeah.
Matrix.
Oh no. What was there's another one we just thought about it too, and it's coming. Oh,
There's a
No
bunch of
Time to
them.
Die.
No Time to
Venom,
Die.
Venom is this coming.
Venom's
Yeah,
this
we're gonna
coming
go
week.
see
Then
Venom.
No
We're gonna
Time
see
to
it.
Die. Then Dune. Then One Night in Soho. So October's amazing.
It's just packed full of
Jeez.
huge movies.
And I'd have to pull up the rest of the list because I know we were looking through. After that is Eternals. And then I know
yeah,
there's
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
They got
Spider-Man
Spider-Man.
in December. Matrix.
Matrix is Christmas week.
There was one that
Oh,
came
the
out.
Beatles documentary.
The Beatles documentary. There was one that came out the same day as the Matrix. That was another big one that I couldn't remember now.
I can't remember.
How are we gonna see two
Lamb?
movies in one
Lamb
day?
is coming out. That weird.
I do
want to
see Lamb.
I want to see that.
That's
It's
probably
coming
not
out-
one we'll review because there's a lot of.
Lamb.
It's
Maybe
like
we
this
can for the
month.
slower week though. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't remember that one. Oh yeah.
Not a major one for most people.
Where the
but
lady like gives birth to a
the
real
lamb person. Yes, I
Oh
want to see
yeah,
that.
that's messed
That's
up.
gonna be freaking weird.
Yeah, that's
One that
evil.
I'm excited about that I know is not a major one for most people, but I am going to watch Muppet Haunted Mansion when it comes out. That's the same weekend as No Time to Die, so obviously we're going to review No Time to Die.
Well, we put out a poll on Facebook from our Facebook group and
for our
from
family friendly.
our movie talk groups,
friends.
many groups that we're a part of on Facebook, and we wanted to get everybody's feedback. So we threw out a list of
And if you're
a
watching,
handful.
go ahead to
Respond.
do the poll. Yeah,
But
take
it's
the survey.
interesting
hurry.
because there were a lot of suggestions in the comment threads that I read in one of the movie talk groups.
So
that-
far, everyone mentioned though we did think of. To
Right.
be fair,
Right. There were a lot of these films that they mentioned in the comment section that we actually had thought of, and we only pulled them back because either they were thought too scary for it to be a family film,
Yeah.
or maybe it was it intermingled two different seasons.
everything we picked is PG or G.
Okay.
Nothing
Okay,
is PG-13 out of the list we have. So that was another thing where like Gremlins is one of them. That with Temple of Doom is one of the two movies that created the PG-13
Gremlins is
rating.
more of a Christmas,
And that
movie.
is. We
Yeah,
did
it
review it
is
for
on Christmas.
We did.
Someone suggested Hocus Pocus. We've already reviewed that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't mention it. I should have linked to our review because you could check it out on redmoonproductions.com and find our Hocus Pocus.
We could
review.
link the Gremlins and the
Right
Hocus
there,
Pocus
yeah.
back. There you go, peeps.
Yeah.
Right
There
there.
you go.
But we do have the tally in the results.
I can
They've
list
weighed in.
who's in the lead right now. And if you all don't like who's in the lead and want to change it, go ahead and vote on the poll.
We're going to mention at the end of the show the full tally and the percentage. We're going to pick 4 films.
I don't have the percentages right now. I have to do that math. But in the lead, the highest right now is Casper.
Oh,
Yeah.
it just edged out.
It keeps
I
flipping back and
I want
forth.
to recount.
Yeah, it keeps. It was over. We were at next door, and just like an hour ago, Ernest was in the lead, but now it's in second. So Casper is number 1. Ernest Scared Stupid is now at number 2. Number 3 is The Addams Family,
That's the one I
1991.
don't want to watch that one.
That's such a good
I
movie.
know,
though.
but
It is
Is that
good.
Christina Ricci?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to watch that movie.
Christopher Lloyd is
Christopher
in it, dude.
Lloyd
I
plays
know.
Uncle Fester. Such an
I've
amazing
never
movie.
ever been an Addams Family.
I know.
fan. Never.
Maybe this will
Cousin-
change you.
Cousin
Maybe you'll watch it
man.
and you'll laugh.
hate
Cousin
it.
It is hilarious.
I've hated that.
Maybe you'll watch it and you'll. That's what I'm saying. Maybe now you'll
so
watch it and
good.
you'll laugh.
I may.
so good.
I may.
It's-
I doubt it.
Actually, out of all of the
may.
movies, because I was looking at the Rotten Tomato scores too, which doesn't affect me on these movies,
Yeah.
because most of them aren't very
But it's
good,
highly
despite
rated.
the fact that I like most of these movies. But that one actually is one of the only 2 movies we've picked that has a fresh score. That one,
Really?
yes, that one in Halloween Town. All the others are
Casper's one. I'm a fan.
all
of.
the other ones are technically rotten, even though I don't
Christina
think they.
Ricci's in that too, isn't
Yeah,
she?
yeah.
She
in
is.
Casper?
She is.
Yeah.
I don't know what's your problem with Christina
I don't
Ricci.
have no. I don't have a problem with her. I just have a problem with the Addams Family. I just remember her from being in the
Yeah,
Addams
she
Family.
played
Yeah.
Wednesday.
I don't have a problem with her though.
Man.
No, she's
Christopher
she's a good actress.
Lloyd is amazing.
Black
in that
Snake
movie.
Moan.
Oh.
But anyway, 4th place is Scooby-Doo, the original the first live action movie. So that's in 4th place.
And that was the thing. Like, okay, there was a huge list that we had.
We
Keith
did.
actually made up a huge note like that he shared with us. And
I just scoured like best family-friendly Halloween movies.
Yeah.
Some of them I didn't agree with because I felt like Gremlins is a little too.
Nightmare
harsh
Before
or-
Christmas. It
Yeah.
kind
It's
of
more of a-
splits hairs.
And
with
that one I think we're
Christmas.
talking about maybe doing around Christmas because it is kind of more.
Some of them just went over
For
the rating
Christmas.
that you were shooting for because Ghostbusters is PG-13.
yeah.
and that's.
True.
I still
And that
consider
was-
that a movie I could watch with
Right.
the fan, but
Yeah.
But even then, there were also
It has a little
some
bit more
like
some
Yes.
mature jokes,
like
you know.
Ghostbusters. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
more mature type of film.
Well,
Plus,
Beetlejuice is very mature. Like
Yeah.
that
Yes.
was
Yeah.
on several lists of family friendly, and I was like, yeah. I mean, as a kid, I watched it, but I
True.
don't know that I would call that family friendly.
well, and ultimately,
Yeah.
we wanted to focus on I thought about the word happy Halloween, and I wanted to make sure that the movie,
Beetlejuice isn't
no
happy.
matter how dark it got,
Halloween,
it always.
it should be happy. Have you ever seen a jack-o'-lantern frown?
I've seen worse on a.
They're always smiling.
I've seen worse.
They're always smiling.
Pumpkinhead always smiles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hellraiser.
That's not
Michael Myers.
That's
not a
I know. I'm bringing up Halloween
what the-
villains.
What the Hellraiser are you
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about?
Shut up! I had one good one at the beginning of the show, and now I'm back to being stupid. I can't win. But no, the point is that I wanted to make sure that throughout the entirety of the film there was at least a lighthearted nature.
Yeah,
I didn't want to get too grim, and a lot of those are they're great movies. Don't
Yeah,
get me wrong, but that's the other thing too is there's a little bit on this list that I know none of us have seen, or at least don't want to watch.
All of the, actually,
So-
I'm fine with every movie on this list. I know there's some you don't want to
Except
watch, but
Scooby-Doo.
I'm okay with that.
See,
don't wanna
you don't
watch
want to
that
watch
again.
that one.
It-
I wouldn't mind it just because it was kind of.
It's funny.
It
I mean,
was
it's
just
not
a fun
in
memory
a good
from when
way.
I was younger.
But I mean, I do love to go back and watch that movie sometimes. Like I watched it when I was babysitting my nieces this weekend with them. All the Halloween Towns and then Scooby-Doo. And it's one of those things where, is it a bad movie? Absolutely. But the actors all like really go all out, and I appreciate. Like I crack up watching the actors because it's like Freddie Prinze Jr., Matthew Lillard, Sarah Michelle Gellar, and Cardellini. I can't remember her first name.
Oh,
now.
I know you're talking about. She's a good looking
yes.
woman.
All of them are like, it's like at least
I remember it from Boy
at least
Meets
they
World.
do embody the characters in a satirical role, which
Yeah.
is what the point was. And it's like I appreciate that. The rest of the movie's garbage, but they do a good job.
But because we're doing all of these happy Halloween movies, we thought, why not revisit in a week at the theaters a movie that just came out that was supposed to be a horror film? So what did we think of Candyman? So why don't we go ahead and get right into that review and that discussion?
we should.
Here is our review of 2021's Candyman.
The popular horror icon from the 90s returns to haunt those who've said his name 5 times while looking in the mirror. Directed by Nia DaCosta and produced by Jordan Peele, who also co-wrote the film, Candyman is a semi-sequel/reboot that continues on from the original film of the same name, released in 1992. Candyman is a sequel/reboot that continues on from the original film of the same name, released in 1992, ignoring the original 2 sequels. But does the new film capture what made the original popular, or is it another Hollywood cash grab by tapping into nostalgia? Starring Yahya Abdul-Mateen II as Anthony McCoy, an up-and-coming artist living with his girlfriend and director of the art gallery displaying his work, Brianna, played by Teyonah Parris, Anthony is struggling to find inspiration for his next work, when one night he and Brianna are spending time with Brianna's brother Troy and his boyfriend. Troy shares with them the story of Helen Lyle, who died at the Cabrini Green housing projects in the 90s. Though these are the events of the original Candyman film, time has turned them into an urban legend, and the story, as Troy tells it, depicts Helen as attempting to sacrifice a child and being burned alive for it. As Anthony begins to wander the neighborhood where the Cabrini Green projects once stood, he also learns the myth of Candyman, though he soon learns there's more than one iteration of the Candyman myth as well. As Anthony ventures further down the rabbit hole, more and more people are killed, and Anthony discovers a shocking connection to Helen Lyle and Candyman. Candyman as a horror film does justice to the legacy of the original series, and as a horror movie is actually better made than any previous film in the franchise. Nia DaCosta shows great promise as a director and aptitude for the horror genre. With Candyman being only her second film, coming after her debut film, Little Woods, a 2018 crime thriller that also received high praise, DaCosta shows she knows how to craft scenes full of tension. Her ability to impart upon the audience a sense of unease through visual storytelling alone places Candyman as possibly the scariest film of the franchise. Where the film flounders, however, is not in its technical execution. While production value, visual effects, and even acting are all solid, the film falls flat. This can solely be placed upon its story, and it is this, and only this, that creates a divisive film. While Candyman has been praised by the majority of film critics and has a solid fan base, it also alienated many viewers as well with an overly political story. While this is not a turnoff for many viewers, it will be and has been for just as many others. While it's nothing new for Hollywood to make politically driven films, it is off-putting when a film, especially a franchise film, that had little or no political intent, is inexplicably forced into becoming a political statement. Yes, the original Candyman does touch on social injustices, and these aspects of the character are important to the series. But while the original 90s film displays these injustices in a more realistic and factual manner, the 2021 film takes things to an extreme that is unrealistic and honestly quite disturbing. Blatantly inspired by current events, the film is unabashed in the delivery of its message, which makes sense as its narrative is one Hollywood stands behind wholeheartedly, despite the fact that certain points of view even contradict the original film. No one is claiming that injustice doesn't exist in society, because it does. Candyman, however, showcases a reality where no single Chicago police officer has a redeeming quality, then sets up a homicidal character who originally had no preference on who his victims were, so long as they chanted his name 5 times in the mirror, into a social hero that takes vengeance out on those who perpetrate racism. Not only does this make a horror icon no longer scary, but should a film promote a mass murderer as a hero? There will be plenty who disagree with this review and plenty more who enjoy the film, and that's okay. If you're looking for solid horror, Candyman is great, and if you can look past a contrived and overly political plot, you'll enjoy the film just fine. But unfortunately, the film just felt forced, too contradictory of its predecessor, and too narratively false for me to get behind. I give Candyman 2 out of 4 stars.
There you have it. Our first, I guess you could say, and probably only horror film that we're going to review this season, Mr. Cheatham. 2 out of 4 stars.
We still have Halloween Kills coming out.
Oh, that's the one we missed.
Yep. Halloween
that was the
Kills.
one we forgot to mention just a second ago.
That'll be in between, I think, No
that's
Time
it.
to Die and Dune. So, yeah.
Hopefully that one will be more than this
I hope so.
was.
I
It
hope
turned
so.
out to be, because this was pretty
But here's the thing with this. You can't... If you take out the plot of this movie, which is blatantly political, there is
Can
no...
you do that with any movie?
Well, that's what I'm
Just take
saying.
out the plot?
That's true. That's
The whole
true.
story out.
But that's what I'm saying. If you take out... Maybe I should say if you take the politics out of this movie,
Sure.
you don't have a plot. Because that's what the whole
No,
plot
if you take
surrounds.
the politics out of it, you have the 1990s film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of.
True.
But
true.
you don't have any explanation for anything outside of... They turned the movie into basically Candyman kills... and basically injustice
Just say it.
for
He kills white
racism.
people.
Well, yeah, he
Yeah,
does.
more or less. Now, granted,
And-
there was one,
There's one African American that's killed.
yes, and it was his sister.
Yes.
I don't want, again, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
If you're going to go see it. Continue, Keith.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I was
didn't
just
cut
going
you
to
off.
explain. I gave it, and I was a little bit generous with it in that
I thought so.
thought the cinematography, some of the visuals, only seeing him in the mirror and him cutting the screen, a lot of those horror aspects I thought were well done. And I was
Yes.
like, oh, Nia DaCosta actually has some artistic talent. So in those sense, I was like, if they took all the politics out of this movie and gave it a what I feel would be a better plot, I think it would have been a half decent horror movie. It wouldn't have been the best, no, but it would have been half decent, and I would have given it more than 2.
Yep.
But the fact is, the whole plot is centered around a very obviously topical subject going on right now, or what had been going on around the time this movie was being produced. And it does it in a very, I just felt unrealistic. It's not factual. They make everything seem like, I told you all, watching this movie, I would assume that every death, African American killed by a cop, happens in Chicago because of they just blatantly, the movie just shows them blatantly just kill without asking,
Yeah.
like you said, kill first, ask questions later. And I'm like, I'm sorry, not every single cop. If it was one cop doing it, I'd be like, okay, that might be believable. The fact that every single cop in the movie just joins in on, we're going to beat this guy to death, we're going to shoot that person, and I'm just like, and the whole
Well, and
Candyman's
that
here
even
to...
spans decades.
Yes, and,
Yeah.
and here's the thing.
It does.
Some of it is believable in the sense that, yes, back in Civil War era or Jim Crow era or Civil Rights era, it's like, yes, absolutely.
Well, hell,
I
even
do
now.
believe. Yeah.
I don't think anybody would argue against
Well, no,
now.
but not to the same extent.
100%.
Not to the same extent. Exactly. It was 100%. White people are just out to to get us, so now Candyman's going to kill them for us.
Yep.
And that didn't even make sense to me because, like, in the original movie, he just killed anybody who said his name 5 times in the mirror. Yes, there are social injustice aspects to the original movie, but they're more believable.
Yeah, and they're much lighter.
Yes.
Like much lighter.
Much lighter.
Well, and it's funny because, again, anybody who's going to knock us for making this political, no, the movie inherently is political.
No, yeah.
Yeah, it
I
went
don't
there
want to.
first.
I was going to say, I can't,
way down the rabbit hole.
can't mince words on that because honestly, there was a part at the beginning. For one, I agree with you completely on all the technical aspects. I did enjoy watching the film from beginning to end. I was actually entertained, but I was not happy with the story.
I tried to be entertained. but
Okay,
every
okay,
time-
yeah. Every time I tried to tune
You
in
couldn't
to
get
what
10 minutes through the movie without one of these.
well, not
political
true.
pro-
Not true.
subjects
At the
popping
very
up.
beginning of the film, they actually have a nice setup where they're introducing, for one, the lead actress's brother, who's a gay black man,
Well, I didn't
with
mean
her white
10
boyfriend.
minutes in. I mean, every 10 minutes there was something.
No,
popping
I'm
up.
just
With
saying.
his white boyfriend.
But
Sorry.
the thing is so you have this. What'd you say?
You said a gay black man with her white boyfriend.
Oh, did I say that?
Yeah.
Well, you got the trans community in there anyway. I
Sure,
don't know.
could be.
Alphabet soup. It's
Yeah.
all the same anyway. They're
How
all the same
dare
community,
you
right?
Yeah, that
assume
was
his gender.
That was
Hey,
bigoted.
Yeah,
Man.
very bigoted. So no. But the fact is that you have this gay black man with this white man who are a couple, and they kind of have this. They're going over there to have this dinner party, and he wants to tell this ghost story, and all of a sudden, like they're talking about gentrification in the neighborhood, and the white boyfriend makes a line that I actually kind of stood out to me, and he's just like, "What, kind of like you all?" And like he's pointing the finger at the 3 black individuals who benefited
For
from this.
living in a very nice place.
Right.
Yeah,
because they were
exactly.
they built that
Talking about
area.
how white people were
Basically
lowering
moving they lowered
creating
the status
ghetto,
to
lowering
come
property
in,
value, then
build
they could
business,
come in. Yeah.
right? And so for one, the whole entire
Which doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't you just build the place up from the beginning? Why would you, like?
it
It costs more money to create the projects first, and then buy everything
you're
back
thinking-
and build up, than to just build up.
You're thinking
And I'm just saying, it's like.
Here's the thing.
Why would you spend the money to create the projects to tear down to spend more money to buy everything back when you could have just bought
I
everything in
don't
the
want
first
to.
place
That's
and built
not
it
the
up?
political convo I want to get into.
Yeah.
Because again, I know.
RoboCop.
But the thing is this movie was not trying to.
Oh, I know. It wasn't being logical.
It was, well, not only that, it was coming from a biased standpoint to begin with.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my point in the scene was I thought that's what they were trying to tear down. I thought
Yeah.
the white guy, the only white guy in the room making that comment and them not wanting to just
It was a
lash
really
out
good
at
point,
him,
yeah.
It was actually a moment where I was like, okay, we're going to get some.
because they sit there and they're like, oh yeah,
You kind of make
right.
a point. They
Yeah.
they
Right.
stay silent.
Right.
And honestly, that's more what I expect from Peele anyways, going off some of his other movies, like him being a bit more fair-handed, but then the rest of the movie
Right.
isn't.
I told Keith while we were over at our neighbor's house that that's how I felt. Like from the very beginning, I felt like they made these huge social justice, racial divide things. They had these huge monologues about it, and then someone would cut down that argument with something as simple as one sentence like that. And I thought, okay, this is gonna be good. It did it like 2 times towards the beginning, but then later on in the film, it didn't keep doing that. So
No.
the fair-handedness went away.
Well, it was a red herring.
Yeah.
They set it up for
made
you
me
in
think,
such a
okay,
way.
every time they throw one of these tropes in there, they're gonna show the other side of it too, and I'm
Right.
okay with that.
And that's what irritated me is it led me down the rabbit hole of thinking, okay, I don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I'm actually in for a ride and I'm in for this mystery. And as the movie continued, I wouldn't say it was up until I would say about a good 40 minutes in that then you start to get the explanation for why this is affecting the main character, the main actor in the film, the way it's affecting him. And ultimately, it's like once they start the explanation of it, and then there's it just I started to roll my eyes. I started to just be like, okay, now I can't, you're blatantly throwing it in my face and you're just shoving it down my throat, making me accept this. And I was like, I cannot watch this film with the kind of filth that is in the messaging of the overall purpose. And I'm sorry, but I told Keith before he came in to write the review, I said, maybe I'm overthinking this, and maybe I'm adding too much of my own personal bias into it. But I thought it was borderline evil what part of the message of this film was, and I truly do mean evil.
Yeah.
Because to me, the
I
idea
agree with
that
what you said.
that Candyman is this retribution and this revenge-like figure that now is somehow a superhero in the modern black community in this film, to now take out that vengeance on anybody who is against, the downtrodden minority. And I immediately am like, okay, this is what we want to instill in our culture? Like, this is what we want to spread? We want to spread not only just political ideas or an ideology of, there's some people who are oppressed and there's others who benefit and those others happen to be in the white man category. But no, it was literally, we have to not only point the finger at them and claim that kind of atrocity, we have to outwardly, violently thwart them.
Yeah, and the fact that this was
like, that was exactly how the message was left into the film.
Yeah, and just like Keith said at the beginning, when this movie was being produced, it was during the riots. It was while cities were burning, and that is exactly to me. It's just like let's make this movie and throw gasoline on a fire.
More or less, or just our culture in general right now.
Yeah.
Because
they're
really
trying to create a divide.
Well, I was going to say, it shows you how divisive the culture is. Because for you all to even bring up the 1991 movie, the funny thing about it is that it was made obviously 30 years ago, and yet it had less. And I know what people would say is, well, they couldn't have actually told this kind of story back then. They wouldn't have been allowed to. Yeah. And I'm like, no, what you're disregarding is that we've regressed. We've actually gone backwards in terms of conversations and human relations.
I don't believe we really have. I believe the conversation has.
But I would agree with you. But this type of movie being made at such a scale and being praised from the critical eyes and from people who want to get this, it's the same kind of fight we're taking. And I don't want to get off on a political tangent on five other topics, but it's the same kind of fight we're seeing on a bunch of other different avenues in our culture right now, whether it's the school system, whether it's the border crisis, all of these different fronts that are really testing the resolve of what do we believe in as a united people in this country. And this does not healthily add any kind of conversation piece to that. No. This movie utterly destroys that idea of uniqueness in the individual, but commonality in the people who come together to express the same type of ideology and the same type of common goals as, on a broad sense, on a macro scale. No, this dilutes it down into, the very line he says in the movie, no, the whole damn hive is rotten. That points directly to the message they've been trying to feed us for the last year of we got to tear it all down. The whole system is racist.
He says Candyman isn't. He's the whole hive.
Yeah, he's not one person.
So he's basically saying Candyman is the edification of the whole,
right,
of all of us,
right,
as black people. It's like he's doing what we all
he's
want
doing
him
our
to
bidding.
do. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, but I could not, and I've seen horror films and I've seen films that even I disagree with, politically, but I can still enjoy from a certain standpoint of saying, okay, I can agree to disagree and walk away. And trust me, being a film fan, I don't think there's a majority of films that fit into this category of trying to shoehorn, certain, some kind of indoctrination into their film. I think there's a lot more films, obviously, that, fit on par with the big blockbusters that we've seen this year that just have a very generic, milquetoast but camaraderie message and hoorah, and I'm all for that. But for the cultural pieces that we do allow to exist in our society that we would call art, we have to hold them to a higher standard. And so when something like this blatantly goes out of its way to make a certain position and stand on a certain ground, we have to question it. We have to critique it, because if we don't, then we are very much part of that problem of allowing regression to take place and going backwards in the ages of allowing certain things to happen in our culture that I don't think, frankly, anybody would want to see. I don't think anybody would want to see that kind of regression. And so for that reason alone, I had to give it 1.5. I had to settle on 1.5.
That's where I was. I was surprised that you went with 2, but
I went with 2 just because, like I said, I appreciated a lot of the horror aspects. I just felt that if they had kept it to an entertaining horror movie, it would have been fine.
Well, the 90s version, Candyman is a boogeyman, and it makes for a much better horror film because that's what he is. It's a mystery. It's supernatural. He's a boogeyman. Everybody's scared of him. Doesn't matter what color you are. You're a potential victim.
Well,
and in this movie, it was very clear that if you have in any way oppressed African Americans, you are the victim.
Well,
you are the one that Candyman is going to come after.
He's now a tool.
Yes.
For
Yes.
the black community.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Keith, I think
I
even
think the real Candyman would kill people just for trying to make him a tool. So
Ooh, there you-
I'm
well,
just being honest.
yeah.
he doesn't want to be used.
Well, and I
so-
think you were
Wow.
the one that even said
You know the film better than the people that wrote it. I mean, you know the character better.
Well, no, because he's coming from a standpoint of what actually would, I think, what would be the right word? It'd be the, I'm trying to think of it, literary.
Yeah.
The literary nature better
try-
because it makes more sense according to the character that's already been established.
Well, it's keeping with continuity too. That was one thing that bothered me about this movie. I said in my review was that it contradicts things from the original just to make the political and racial angle fit. It bothered me because they talked about in the projects in the original movie that there wasn't enough police policing the area and it was resulting in all this violence in the projects. And in this movie, the guy's complaining they don't ever leave. There's too many police.
Too many
It's
of them.
They never came around back then, but now they won't leave. And it's like, well, what do you want? Like, what's the problem? Not enough police
Well,
creates
they gotta
crime, or
they got to find that Goldilocks. They got to find just the right amount of police.
No,
Except that this movie shows that the area is now much better off. So I'm like, okay.
No, well, the thing is, though, is the projects themselves, and they even make a comment about it with the gentrification conversation about how nobody lives there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I could see a bunch of gangbangers or even like meth heads, staking claim in one house, and they got to go clear them out.
Yeah.
But why would they actively be patrolling in an area that's shut off?
Yeah.
I mean, he climbs over a fence to get in there and take pictures.
Yeah.
And then, funny enough, while he's in there taking pictures, the one dude, that's where he meets him.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
Well, because he's the one guy that still lives there.
right.
And he
But
says he's like, I'm the only one here now.
And it's funny because I'm like, if they know that that's the only guy there,
Is that the laundromat guy?
yes.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And I'm just like,
Well, they got to police the area to make sure he doesn't get into trouble.
but see, okay, and this is the area. That's what also doesn't make sense. Just, I don't know. It just doesn't hold water in terms of why wouldn't they make a relationship with the one person they know there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's something that I think even 10 years ago would have been a
that's
no-brainer.
But again, that's
But it doesn't
that's
fit the
showing
narrative.
the police as human beings,
Right.
Instead of these monsters that just come in and kill black
right.
people.
And there's a specific scene at the very end that I thought was just
Oh, yeah.
completely so contrived and absolutely ridiculous. And it just, again, it goes to the laziness. And that was the thing. It started off interesting, and then because they shoehorned certain political, ideas in it, they got lazy with the writing.
Yeah.
And they decided,
just
well,
like-
as long as we tell this message, and because we are a certain color, we're going to be praised because we're pushing a narrative that needs to get out there.
That was just, it was artistic because we're regressing as people. The movie regressed too.
Yeah, no doubt.
It starts off good, it just gets worse.
Yeah, that's very true. Absolutely.
So, that's
But
what they were going for.
I
the whole
will say
time.
too. I think Keith, you made a good point after you recorded last night. You had mentioned, just briefly, it's like when you look at all of these other like Michael Myers, Jason, Freddy Krueger, it's like they had a real opportunity to kind of reestablish this franchise and bring back
Yeah.
a type of a revered
Just
like
iconic
horror
horror
icon
character.
and yet
Where do
they
they go
failed
from here?
miserably. But they don't, because I guarantee you, it's like even with as popular as it was, even if they come out with a Candyman 2, you have to double down on this message now.
Yep.
Yeah.
This message is so embedded in what you've built in this franchise that you have to double down on it. And if you don't, then again, you're either completely going a 180, which wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And even if you double down on it, I think it's going to be even more divisive to where more people won't watch it. And
Yeah.
and to me, that was the ultimate thing is, I gave this movie a try, but I'm definitely not going to revisit it.
No.
I mean, who wants to literally
I'll
watch
never-
a movie where
No.
you're going to be told, that you're terrible and you have Candyman
Well,
come after you?
Like when I texted you while I was watching it, I was like, this movie is making me hate myself for being white.
And that's what they want.
I know.
That's what they want.
I know. And it's so bad because you
And
compared
I
it.
hate-
You
I
compared
mean,
it
the
to
producers is what they want.
Yeah. You compared the character to Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers, and the cool thing about those characters is they're indiscriminate. The cool thing about those is they're scary for everybody. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what color
Yep.
you are; they are coming after you. And from all of the 20 sequels that all of those movies have, they can't die. That it's a constant
Fear.
boogeyman. It's
Yeah,
a constant.
yep.
It's a constant sense of horror and fear. and unknowing that this guy coming for me.
Yep.
And this movie is so far off that track, which that's fine if they want to make Candyman different. But again, he's only scary to white people. I mean, we're the
Now-
only ones that have to be afraid of him now.
And,
So,
I just think it's
which
so,
doesn't fit the continuity of the first. Like it,
No.
it doesn't.
right, and that's what I'm saying. I think that's just such a sad angle to go that
Yeah.
you have to be not only that much more divisive, but also that much more, Again, I understand them when it's almost like they want to say, "Well, we're going to take this and make this our thing," and I'm like, "That's fine, you can," but again, it just like you're actively or you're proactively causing a strain on any kind of like
Excuse me.
relationship you want with a group of people to say, "Hey, we're not just trying to outwardly point the finger at you." And I just feel like that anytime you start off any kind of situation with a negative connotation,
yeah.
you're setting up a recipe for disaster. And I feel like that's what this movie ultimately did. And so I don't really think they did the franchise any decency.
Oh, no.
I think they just really
kinda
put it
ran
on
it
a
into the
path
ground,
to not be successful after this. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens, what comes down the pike. But not a good movie. Not a good movie at all. Definitely one I would not watch. I wouldn't recommend it. I would say stay far away from this.
Well, we do
I
have
wouldn't
some,
rewatch
we
it.
do have some happier movies to talk about, though.
Yeah, they're coming.
They're coming.
They're coming.
They're coming next week. We're gonna have some. And Venom, who knows how that's gonna turn out.
Here's
Hey,
the thing.
if it has the Eminem song in it again, I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't
still
even know,
haven't
do
seen
you?
the
You haven't
first
seen the
one.
first
You need to
one.
watch the
Okay.
first one. Here's the thing. I don't expect Venom to be a particularly good movie, but I do expect it to be entertaining. The first
Woody
one was
Harrelson's
entertaining.
going to be entertaining.
Oh yes, yeah.
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 I have a feeling I'll probably enjoy it much more than the last several we've
Did
reviewed.
they keep him in a wig? Is that in the
Yeah.
final cut?
Oh.
No. He has short hair in this one.
Okay, because
And
I was
at the
gonna say,
end
I
of the-
wanted to see him in that wig.
But it is red.
so bad.
It is red.
It's
yeah.
red, yeah.
At the end of the original movie, he had the long curly hair.
That's it.
But I think in this one, like it's like a shorter shit. Like they shaved it because
Oh man.
Well, he's in
pretty
an insane
sure-
asylum. They don't, they cut your hair.
Well, I think
in
he's
there.
on death row because there's a clip they show of them going to execute him. And
Oh,
I
I
think
thought he
that's
was in,
I
like,
think
a
that's when
nut
he becomes Carnage. Is like they're going to kill him, and they showed way too much of this movie. It's only a 97-minute movie.
that's
It's an
what I'm
hour and a
feeling.
half. So I'm like,
That's what I'm.
They
thinking.
show how he becomes Carnage.
Yeah.
I mean, they inject him with the
yeah,
with the stuff.
That's what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
I'm like, that's one of those things where I'm like,
or he gets blood from
he does the blood from Eddie, like Venom.
bites him.
He bites him. He gets the blood.
Yeah, so then he
But then I think when they go to inject him to kill him because they show a clip of
yeah,
that
because
I
it's
think
trying to kill him, the alien
yeah.
reacts to
But that's
the-
one of those things where it's like I already
keep
know
him
half the
alive.
plot because it's a 97-minute movie and you've
Yeah.
shown all this stuff in the trailer.
trailer.
You're basically
Yeah.
well. They're probably expecting like Aquaman. They're probably expecting the action to speak. For
I
itself.
think it's
But
what
it's going to have to be.
I'm
highly
okay with that.
entertaining
I think because the the first movie is over 2 hours and it's too long for what it is. I think they just know people are only coming to see this movie to watch Venom and Carnage beat the crap out of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping, and as long as they deliver on that, I'll probably be happy. Yeah, just
We'll see. We'll see. It's coming next week. We're reviewing that
Yeah.
along with. Stay tuned for the end of the show.
Yeah.
We're going to tally
Yeah,
up the votes.
we'll get that.
Woo! All right, let's go into our headlines. Are we ready to talk about some big movie news this week? Because man, we got one that just took over all the headlines.
Yeah, it did.
I think we're going to start actually with the third one, but let's roll that open at least. Let's get into that. All right.
Yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. You do these things and you're like, "Hey, how are you?"
Yeah, okay, so
Oh,
now
there
you're
he
just going
is.
to do random nonsense mumblings? Is that
Look
what
at
you're
that
going to
man.
do?
Look at that
Sometimes
man.
sometimes I like
not-
random nonsense mumblings.
It's like I'm going to scat and you're just going to go into random nonsense now.
I thought it would be more fun
I'm
that
sorry,
way.
I wasn't listening to y'all. I was looking at Chris Pratt. I wasn't even paying attention to what you
Oh,
were saying.
he's got a love affair with Chris Pratt.
I'm yeah.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the big surprise.
Let's talk about Sean's love affair with Chris Pratt.
Yeah,
Let's talk
I mean,
about it.
how long is
I
it?
don't-
How ongoing has it been?
This is
Since Parks and Rec.
oh man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when he
ran
started
out
losing
nude.
weight. When he started losing weight.
Here's the thing.
Mhm.
I
Man,
know.
Aubrey Plaza in that.
Oh yeah.
Sorry,
I know a
she's-
lot of
yeah,
people.
in that
I've met quite a few people that were like, "Oh, even in Parks and Rec, when he was chubby, I thought he was hot." So I'm like, Chris Pratt just had that personality that attracted women
Hey, again,
And men.
and men.
I like though. Sean's mentioned it on the show before. It's his modern day Charlton Heston.
It is. Yeah, there's Charlton Heston and then there's Chris Pratt.
There you go. There you go.
Yep.
Who would be after that? Would it maybe hopefully be a woman?
Manly man,
Well,
or
there's
just any
way
men
more
crushes?
women. Okay,
Yeah,
don't get me
Yeah.
wrong.
Hey, that's
there's only
true.
two guys
There
I
you
would go gay for,
You're not a heathen.
and that's Charlton Heston and Chris Pratt.
There you go.
and one of
Chris
those
Pratt.
guys
I
is
just want to
dead.
go. I just want to have a beer with Chris Pratt.
Clint was on that list until Cry Macho.
No,
He's just
no.
Clint's too senile right now.
No.
and even in his heyday, I'd be afraid that he'd be too rough. So you don't want to go with Clint Eastwood. So I will go with Clint Eastwood.
Get over here.
Yeah,
Come here, punk. You feel lucky?
Now we just sound like Batman.
Swear to me.
Yeah.
Christian Bell would be on a lot of those lists.
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Now let's
He's not
talk
on my
about
list.
Nintendo released the Mario movie.
This has been somewhat
cast.
controversial.
It has
and
been.
honestly, I get it, but at the same time, I think people are doubting how versatile Chris Pratt is. I understand the concern, but I think he can pull it off.
Well, and I think it's purely political why they're
Oh, yes,
lambasting him. I
absolutely.
mean, it's only because again they just
Well, he's
they
not
can't.
Italian. I mean,
It's
you got to
true.
get a real Italian.
They
to play
don't like
Mario.
him because even though he's never come out with any political stance, that they perceive him as, because he is openly Christian, they perceive him as being this Christian conservative bigoted person who's anti-LGBT, and I don't even know where that I saw a lot of that
It's from
online.
the church.
the church that he goes
I
to.
know,
That's
but
what
I'm
they're saying.
like, he himself has never said anything against the LGBT
But
community.
he's not spoken up for them.
Yeah,
And again, if
well,
you don't speak out, look,
dude,
I don't want to go down the road.
I know,
Yeah,
but
But
it's
yeah,
just
again,
one of those things
I think that's
where-
why a lot of people are hating on him being Mario. But like you said, it's not that I doubt his talents. I do think they primarily got, because here's the thing: Jack Black as Bowser's great.
I think that's
I think Anya
hilarious.
Taylor-Joy is.
I think
Peach
Charlie
is
Day
awesome.
as Luigi is hilarious.
Yep, I think
Even
the only
Keegan-Michael
one I'm
Seth
against.
Rogen as Donkey Kong.
Yeah,
can't stand that.
That's the only one I don't like.
I hate Seth Rogen.
But even Michael Key as Toad, I'm like,
He's
that's
great.
going to be
He's
hilarious.
gonna be good
That's
as
going to be
Toad.
hilarious.
Yeah.
See, I don't mind the Seth Rogen thing. I think he's got
I
such
just
a
hate Seth
I
Rogen.
know you do. I know all about it.
I don't-
But he's got a distinct voice.
That's what
that I
bothers
think will
me.
fit like Donkey Kong.
But see,
like,
I
just
don't
think it'll be funny.
I don't imagine Donkey Kong, because in the games he doesn't have a raspy voice, so it just bothers
Yeah,
me.
well, in
just-
the games, does he have a voice at all?
no,
He did in
He
the.
doesn't talk.
I
in
don't think so.
Donkey Kong Adventure.
I don't think he
or-
does. I
He
think
has-
anything.
I just
he
picture
has
like
the
a
animated series. I watched that when I was growing up. They had a
Oh.
Donkey Kong Country
But
series.
nobody's referencing that. That'd be
I'm
like them
just saying.
referencing the original Mario movie for this one, which
Yeah.
I know you all
Donkey
love.
Kong makes
That was
noises.
the
and
original
his
Mario
noises
movie was
are not.
what's the guy's name that plays in Roger Rabbit?
Oh, Bob Hoskins.
Bob Hoskins
and,
was,
and John,
Mario, and
John
John
Leguizamo.
Leguizamo.
Yeah, however you say
Yes,
his name.
that's right. Yeah,
The-
Leguizamo.
That was a great
Leguizamo.
movie. Terrible, but great.
No, or not Dustin Hoffman. Who is it? Crap, he's in Hoosiers. The crazy drunk is in it.
Dustin Hoffman. Or
That
no,
is- no, that's not
oh,
Dustin
God.
Hoffman. Crap, I know. I'm freaking.
His name's Dustin.
Neil Breen.
Look at.
I don't know.
Crap,
I'm gonna
look
look it
it
up.
up.
I'll look it up for
I'm-
you.
Why am I blanking? I'm blanking on it. He's in Hoosiers. He
Man.
won an
I know
Academy
you-
I know
Award
who you're
for
talking
Hoosiers.
about. Yeah,
Or he was
he
nominated.
was in
or something.
Waterworld too.
Here's the thing, though.
It's gonna come.
Nintendo does, like, part of their deal with making this movie was that they had final say on everything. Now, that doesn't mean it's still going to be a good movie, because what does Nintendo know about making movies? But at least they do say, that doesn't honor our character, you can't have it in the movie.
Right.
So,
and that's the thing. I'm trustworthy not only in that sense, but it's like because we've seen what bad like
Dennis Hopper?
Dennis Hopper,
Not
that's-
Dustin, Dennis.
yeah,
Dennis
yeah,
Hopper
yeah.
was
Yes.
King Koopa in the
Yes.
original
Yeah.
Super Mario
Yep.
movie.
See, I knew
Yeah.
I wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, so like for one, I think we've seen our fair share of bad video game movies.
Yeah.
And obviously Nintendo was all about in the early 90s literally soaking up the cash from I mean, look, we all have seen the freaking Power Glove
Yep.
and
Oh wow, he did the dab.
I have seen the Power Glove and all that. So,
But no, and what was the mat that you dance or you have to fight, you kick and punch?
I don't
and it
know.
was
The
supposed
power
to,
mat.
the
I don't
pa-
know.
Yeah,
what it
you
was
were
called.
supposed to detect your move. But basically, what I'm saying is they found every way to get as much money out of the freaking NES and out of the early days of Nintendo
Yeah.
they could. They freaking had branded cereal.
Yeah.
I mean, so Nintendo had that.
They
Forgot
had
what
a-
that was
they had a
called.
Mario
now. You got
cartoon
me-
in the
You got me
90s.
thinking of that.
Yeah.
Now I can't think what it freaking was called.
I don't either. I don't know.
I know. I mean, when I bought the Nintendo, it came with Duck Hunt, which
But that
came
had
with
the gun.
It came with the gun.
That was
and
the
then
only
it-
thing that worked
And
that
then
was
it came
decent.
with the mat
mat.
that
I
you
love-
do track
I love
and
Duck
field
Hunt,
on.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you would run and then jump and.
But
and
that's
stuff.
but the funny thing was I think they went through this product like kind of degrading quality over the course of the early 90s and mid 90s, and they started putting like the Nintendo seal of approval and stuff. And it was like the games were never bad.
Yeah.
All the games were, well, there were a few here and there that were bad, but most of their main titles in like Mario and Donkey Kong or Metroid, like all of those titles are fantastic. All the way from the original NES
Need a
up
Metroid movie.
to, oh dude,
When we go get a Metroid
Metroid
movie?
would be. I mean, who would be the perfect?
Who would be
Samus?
Samus Aran?
A freaking
Anya
Jessica Chastain.
Taylor-Joy.
Jessica Chastain.
Actually, that would be a
Jessica
good one.
Chastain would be good.
Oh,
I was
like
gonna
it.
say Brie Larson, but screw her.
No.
she's a terrible Captain
Captain
Marvel.
Marvel.
It's like
Dr. Captain Marvel.
Dr.
Captain
Marvel.
But no,
I like that.
Chastain. I'm
Chastain,
trying to think
yeah.
of some other ones that could be some heavy hitters. Oh gosh,
He knows what I'm going to say.
No, I
'cause I'm
don't.
going to piss him off. Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh gosh. Oh,
I only
gosh.
said it just to make him mad.
They would do that though.
They would.
They
Yeah,
would
they
do that.
would.
They would put her in the suit, and it would be terrible.
Yeah, it would.
Oh, it would be
Don't talk about
awful.
it no more.
Yeah, but no, but a Metroid movie would.
There
be
was
good.
someone else, and I can't. I'm serious about the one. Not Anya Taylor-Joy, but another who's kind of been getting a lot of roles
Samus,
lately.
Samus is a redhead.
Florence
so
Pugh.
She's going to be a redhead.
Florence Pugh.
Florence
She could
Pugh?
do it. She could pull it off.
Yeah, she could do that. She could easily do Samus.
Yeah.
and that would
She's
actually.
short. She's so short though.
Well, Samus,
Yeah.
you know, you
She's
put her
got-
in the suit.
they got
she
heels.
won't know.
She's
yeah.
got heels.
You put her in the suit,
Yeah.
and I mean, Hollywood magic. Tom Cruise is short, but they make him look tall.
Can she roll into a ball?
Yes.
Um,
Have you seen Midsommar?
Brandon said yes.
like,
no
I
doubt.
know.
Yes.
No, she was pretty flexible in Black Widow.
Widow.
So.
There you go. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Like
But-
he's seen it before.
Not at all.
Oh.
But no, let's talk about the Mario movie.
Yeah.
For one, I want to know this is animated, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's
I want to confirm.
It's
that.
an animated movie, and that's the thing. And I do understand this gripe to an extent, but obviously, if you're making a movie, you want to have heavy hitters. A lot of people are also upset, the ones that aren't for political reasons, that they didn't get the actual voice actor for Mario.
Yes,
that does all the
yeah.
games. It's like I get that, but I kind of also get that. It's a
and-
big
and
Hollywood
again,
movie.
This is the reason why they picked Chris Pratt. They picked him because, and like with
His
all
name's
of
going to
these-
draw people in.
Exactly.
Nobody
Oh, yeah.
knows.
They're already going to make tons of money from the Mario cartoon itself, from it being animated. But and it's going to draw kids. But then you attach the Chris Pratt. I mean, we're talking like another Wreck-It Ralph. We're talking about, and I could see them dabbling in, throwing in
different
like,
Nintendo references.
Exactly.
And here's the thing: yes, all the hardcore fans know who Charles Martinet is. That's the voice actor for.
That's
He's
right.
been the voice actor for Mario since the 90s.
But here's the thing: how many lines does he have in the game?
Exactly.
He does it.
you Mario.
Exactly.
Yes, he says the
That's
same
it.
things over and over. And I'm not saying he's not. Yeah, I'm not saying
That's
he's
it.
not a talented voice actor or he couldn't do it. But obviously, a big movie they're hoping to bring in tons of cash. They're going to go with the big
game
names.
is for not only fun while you're playing; it's a caricature.
Yeah,
There it is.
You need some Mario.
See, this
noises.
is when those work.
They
for the
actually
show.
fit.
Yeah,
Oh, he's gonna pick. He's gonna pick another one.
He's gonna just play them all.
I don't know.
Just do them all.
Just do the. Yeah, there you go.
You know.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
Go
the
for
thing
it.
is I wouldn't be opposed to that. I understand. Like to me, I'm a fan of Mario, but I'm not like the hugest fan.
Yeah.
I don't have to play all the games and whatnot. But I will say, like for instance, we talked about it on the show before. If a Metal Gear movie came out, and even I was
Hey,
absolutely
it's been in production
pissed.
for like 20 years.
Well, I know. That's what keeps giving me faith. It ain't happening. But even with Metal Gear Solid 5, when they switched from David Hayter to Kiefer just to get the name recognition, and I know that Kojima had no strong ties to David Hayter, and there was some love lost there. He was
Yeah.
kind of pissed about it. David Hayter was, and I agree with him.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you've played this character for so long, you know the entire arc. The reason why I honestly MGS5 suffered not just because of the story, but also because freaking Kiefer doesn't talk. He probably got
Yeah.
paid $100 per line, and so they were like, "Well, we can't pay
Probably
him that
got
much."
Paid more than that.
So
yeah.
a lot of grunts
when you
and
broke it
stuff.
down, that's true.
Snake never. He never talks throughout most of the game. And
And it just pisses me off because it does a disservice to the character and what we've come to know and what was the Swan Song. But if they did a Metal Gear movie, I can't see anybody, even with what's his name, Oscar Isaacs playing Snake. I'm like, I don't see him as Snake.
No.
David Hayter's always going to be Snake to
Yeah.
me, and I know that purists are the only ones who feel that way. And it's the same way that I'm arguing on behalf of. I'm not a huge Mario fan. I could see them moving on to pick bigger names to draw in more eyeballs and more fans.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have, like, honestly, I looked at the cast list and I'm like, this movie's going to be hilarious.
I think so, too.
I looked at them and I'm like, knowing what they're probably going for like, obviously it's Mario, it's not going to be serious anyways, and Nintendo tends to do the more comedic things in their games, so I'm like, I have a feeling, I mean, like,
And they're
it's
good.
it's a very nice comedic cast.
I think they're really going to make up a story. It'll be funny to see cliches of Peach getting captured, and
Yeah.
you got to go off and save her.
Yeah.
And now you got to make a whole
Especially
movie.
Jack Black as Bowser.
Yes, I think
No,
he's
I
great.
bet they flip it, and I bet Mario gets captured, and Peach goes and saves him because of girl power.
It's Anya
Wow.
Taylor-Joy.
That could
True.
be the
She
truth.
could do it.
And if that happens,
She's gonna pull out that magical
Then I
sword thing
would
from
be-
New Mutants.
but then oh gosh, that movie's terrible.
Yeah.
But then I could see them being pissed even more, because then it'd be like, well, Chris Pratt doesn't have 2 lines in the movie. Why couldn't they get the original guy?
Yeah.
You know, then it would be that
That would be
argument.
funny.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I was kind of happy with the cast list. I wasn't hugely disappointed. I'm fine with it.
Is it Illumination?
Yes, that
Okay.
was, and that's why
That I'm a little bit worried
That
about.
was what worried me, but I was happy knowing that
Yeah, I see it.
Nintendo was
Nintendo
like,
has full
because it's
control.
one of those things where it's like, ooh, Illumination's not the best, but
With them at the helm, with Nintendo having final say, and ultimately the first Despicable Me was good,
yes,
and they've
And I
had
think
a
that's-
few other. Well, no,
that might
not
be
really.
the only I don't know that Illuminations
don't-
had a whole lot of.
I'm going to be honest. I like the Minions movie. I think
Well,
it's
and that
funny.
one was okay.
But again,
because
that's
it was
a spin-off
spin-off.
of Despicable Me.
But but then again, didn't they do a Minions too? Or am I making?
They're
it
making
up?
a Minions.
Yeah, they're
too.
making
making
that.
You
but
have Minions, the Despicable Me series, Secret Life of Pets, Sing,
Yeah.
See, and-
The
and
Grinch.
The Grinch was good.
No, that
The
one
animated
was,
Grinch, it was
good.
okay.
Yeah, it was fine.
I didn't
But
think
Sing,
it was.
Sing,
yeah.
they're obvious. Like you-
Hop, which was a terrible movie.
I heard a coworker at work. He had mentioned this, and it was kind of funny. He was just like, "Let's see how many cultural references and modern songs they can throw into a film." And I was like,
Yep.
"That's kind of what
That's what
Illumination,
Illumination
does.
does.
And
The
it pisses me
Lorax.
off because I'm like, "Did they do Trolls?"
No, that was DreamWorks.
Okay. But it's funny because I'm
pretty
sitting
sure.
here and I'm like, Nintendo can't do that. They won't do that. I don't think they'll allow that to happen because, for one, it's too weak of a crutch to lean on. But ultimately, I just don't think that fits in the Mario universe. I think it'll be more of a Wreck-It Ralph or Sonic even.
I'm hoping.
Where
Sonic was good.
Yeah,
Sonic was good.
I was thinking that was going to suck, and that ended
Yeah.
up being a great movie.
well, they had to make something decent after
Look,
all the backlash
Yeah, I
from the
know.
design.
I'm hoping because like Sky Blue is another one that doesn't have the best movies, but they did the Peanuts movie, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
hoping
true.
this is Illumination's Peanuts movie, where this is their one like really solid movie.
We'll see. We'll see when the time comes.
Seth Rogen's he's gonna make.
Here's the
movie.
thing:
He's
he's
gonna make
Donkey
it
Kong,
suck.
who I don't expect to be a major character. So we
Yeah.
can.
I wouldn't have minded if they gave him like Diddy Kong, not Donkey Kong.
Well, Diddy Kong wouldn't make sense. He shouldn't have that deep.
That's
raspy
my point.
voice.
Don't put him
Yeah.
in the movie. Don't put him in the
I'm
movie.
not going to avoid every movie that has Seth Rogen.
See, like I read, I'm
Donkey
scrolling.
Kong, I smoke weed.
That's true. Let me show you how to roll a blunt on my YouTube video.
I'm so calm, Seth Rogen. I can't do Seth Rogen. He's a terrible person.
I know you did it.
It sounded
That's
pretty
it,
good.
that's it.
That's what he
All
sounds
right,
like.
guys, let's move on to our final headline tonight, which is
Well, two
so
of them-
big it made 2
I was
headlines.
going to say two are really kind of connected.
This
so
is crazy. Disney
Ba-doom.
set to possibly lose some major Marvel characters over
Well,
copyright.
not lose. They would share.
Okay, well, I
Yeah.
put lose on the logo.
Well,
I was being a
Yeah,
little
he got
dramatic.
a little excited
I'm
about
being
it.
a little dramatic. Well, they could. Who knows? If they had to share the rights, couldn't they just say,
No, they have.
oh, they can't pull the rights if they
That-
lose the copyright?
They well, the problem is because
Or if they terminate the copyright. That's the
they
legal-
are still co-creators, so they would still get some of the what they're suing for distinctly are like Steve Ditko, Stanley, their estates, because these people are dead, want to pull their share of the copyrights away, saying that Steve Ditko and these created the characters and then sold them to Marvel. So technically, they are
work for hire. Is what they call it.
no. That's
Oh,
what Marvel
yeah,
would
that's
say.
what Marvel's arguing.
They're saying that no, that wasn't work for hire. They made the characters and then just but Marvel saying no, we hired them, and then after we hired them, they created the characters for us, so it was work for hire. Which is there's been several lawsuits like this in the past. Specifically, the lawyer who actually I believe what I read is working for Disney originally worked for the Schusters when they tried to sue and do the same thing to gain Superman, and have the way that wound up, which is how I expect
It's
this
settled.
will, is it's settled. They kind of have like this thing going on where DC now on everything they do with Superman
Well, and I even
has
believe
a percentage, and it says in association with Joel Schuster and
Yeah.
Here's the thing, and it's funny because it's settled just before there were grumblings of it being taken up in the Supreme Court.
yes.
And Ruth Bader Ginsburg, actually, before she passed, was wanting to take this case up, or was all about taking it up. And it's interesting that then they decided to settle. So could these estates basically be catching on to the idea that they do have some legal
They have a
grounds
chance,
here,
yeah.
to where if they get to a point, they know that Disney's basically fighting them tooth and nail all the way, so they're hoping you'll give up. But if they take it all the way to that point, they're obviously going to cave and say, "Okay, let's find some common." Because
They know they're going to get money out of it in some way.
Well, and I was going to say the recent estate that just kind of made this settlement was with the creator of the I think members of the Eternals.
Jack Kirby?
Jack Kirby.
Yes.
And they just settled with him and basically made peace outside of court, even though the Kirby estate was trying to sue.
I have mixed feelings about all this because I do understand that absolutely Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, a lot of these artists got really crap contracts back then because Marvel didn't care so much about their talent. They're like, here's this. But at the same time, you still signed and I'm not saying yes, it sucks, but they signed the contract.
Yep.
So it's kind of one of those things that also bothers me that, like with Stan Lee's estate, he was with Marvel up until his death. If he had a problem, I think he would have said something long before he had died. So at least with them, I kind
Here's the
of
thing, though.
a good
But
point.
Stan Lee's kind of an exception to the rule.
yes,
Stan
I agree.
Lee was
I
kind of
agree.
given treatment. Plus, he came up with a plethora of more characters than I think some of these.
Well,
others.
their
In
argument
terms
is that Stan Lee and Marvel took credit for a lot of things,
Right.
And in some ways they did. But here's what I've
and
always
Stan Lee was kind of the better businessman.
Stan
and positioned
Lee,
himself to
he
be
was
the favorite.
he was the Steve Jobs of Marvel.
Yeah.
He knew how to, because he was the chief editor at one point. He knew how to market the characters. He knew how to get them to audiences and make them likable. And yes, maybe he didn't come up with every single idea. And even he has always he had said that he had some regrets about how Ditko and Kirby were treated, but at the same time, he also never tried to claim sole credit. And I think a lot of people give Stan Lee a raw deal for something that it's like he was a great businessman. It's not his fault that he came up with the idea for Spider-Man, because that's one of the ones they're suing for with Ditko.
Yeah.
That was his idea. Steve Ditko did flesh the character out, did create all the designs because he was the artist. And a lot of the things that make Spider-Man were from Ditko, but that idea did originate with Stan Lee. So it's one of those things where it's like, how can you
It's
sue...
kind of a team effort.
Yes,
Yeah,
how can you sue Marvel and say, oh no, we want the copyrights back because this was Ditko's character, when it really wasn't. It was definitely both of them. And they would say, well, all Stan Lee came up with was the name Spider-Man and Ditko did the rest. It's like, still, Stan Lee came up with the idea.
Yeah.
I know Ditko fleshed it out, and he does deserve all the props for that, but it wasn't solely Ditko.
True, but I also do think to some degree, regardless of what contracts were made back then, I don't think any of these estates, and maybe they would be, maybe I'm just, this is conjecture. I don't think any of them would be arguing in this capacity for certain rights or certain incentives if the, huge Hollywood boon of these movies was happening.
Yeah.
And the very fact is that these comic books, however popular they were back then when they released,
They weren't making billions.
they weren't
of
making
dollars.
billions of dollars.
And I do agree.
And they weren't, this huge entire industry in and of itself. I mean,
Just
Marvel's
like with-
its own studio now with its own movie production house.
They do.
Because
They have their own
They only
production
make
studio.
Marvel movies. They make comic book movies.
And I will say that is where I think the estates do have some say, is just like with Disney and the streaming lawsuit. As times change, just like with you have to get just like you have to get the rights, like with music rights, you had to get the rights to air them on TV, but then you had to have home release rights. And then when streaming came out, that created a whole nother thing where you had to have streaming rights. And that's why
now
shows
we
like Scrubs and the
we
Muppets
see the music's not even the
are
same.
missing segments because they don't have the streaming rights.
Yep.
I can
Well, and here's
understand
the
why
thing.
they would want to cut the movies weren't a thing back then when
Part
those
of what these
contracts were made.
estates too are arguing is based in the copyright law that was modified back in the 70s to take into consideration things that have, because I think the comic book article that we link to, comicbook.com article we link to, is it specifically underlines that. It talks about how these estates are kind of coming around saying they're making the case based on the idea that any copyright owner of any kind of material has the right to then terminate their copyright contract with whoever has it or using it.
Well, they
based
give them the
on
right to reclaim that copyright.
reclaim it,
Yeah.
simply because they've seen that their work has basically created a new interest and garnered some new found, market creativity.
And I definitely think they do deserve their cut because, trust me, like Marvel would not have, even with Stan Lee coming up with ideas, Marvel would not have been Marvel without Kirby and Ditko, because a lot of the visuals, even in the movies, and I completely understand, a lot of the visuals the Russos used with Doctor Strange, and
From
a lot of
straight from the comic
and a
books?
lot of the visuals in Far From Home with Mysterio are pure from the Ditko images. Like they invoke that imagery.
Well, and that's specifically the ones that they call out in the lawsuit. They bring up those
Doctor
specific
Strange
issues.
and I get that because it's
Yeah.
like obviously these movies are using his artwork for their visual inspiration because it is so unique. So it's like, you're going to use Ditko's work to bolster because fans love it, but we don't get a cut of that. So I do understand that.
Yeah. And
anger.
honestly, I think if anything, it proves that they're willing to settle, that you at least got to be look, I understand Disney's wanting to make every single freaking dollar they can off this, and they're going to try to keep every bit of it under their roof. But if these estates don't at least fight for their say in either how the material is used or what they're really kind of seem to be wanting is just a cut of the pie, and they're saying, hey, at least give us a little bit of a sliver of the huge pie you're making. It's
everybody wants some pie.
everybody wants some pie with my pie radio. Cuba Gooding Jr. But it's funny because
not
it's
a bad
like
movie.
it's not. It's a pretty decent
I like
movie.
it.
Feel good sports movie. But no, I do think that if anything, what all of this has said is that these estates first make the argument, they take it through the courts, and then what ends up happening is at the end of the day, the business entity that Disney is settles on, okay, we understand and we obviously want to use more of your material, so let's go ahead and settle this out of court. What would you like? And the family caves and is like, well, really what we're looking for is, we want the rest of our generation to basically live off of this.
Yeah,
And then Disney's like, all right, we'll cut you a check. Okay, cool. And then everybody's happy. And I'm just like, it is ridiculous that they got to tie up the courts and all of this when they could just settle. Because if Disney did just say, all right, we'll cut you a check here and now, and they just got this out of the way, I think they wouldn't be going through the fiasco. But they're hoping every step along the way that they put these estates through and these people through, that they're ultimately going to cave and say it's not worth the fight. And that's what Disney wants. And Disney and companies like Apple and Google, all these huge mega corporations have plenty of money
they got it
to
spare.
back the lawsuits to keep them from ever having to go to court, or at least keep it tied up in the courts. So trust me, they're not doing this to, it's like they already have those people on retainer anyway.
Yeah.
They're going to be paying them money, so why not pay them to fight this lawsuit till the next one comes
Yeah,
along?
they're not going to share.
No, they don't want to. And
Who would?
I know, but we're going to share some of our own thoughts on what we like to pass along in our relationships.
Very, very, very nice.
Didn't I do it?
Look
Did
at-
I
look
do
at-
it?
You
You
did.
did.
You
You
did
did.
a- you did
I
a
don't even
decent
know
job.
what it is.
Oh, it's things we pass
The
on.
things we pass on.
But before we do that, I think we should mention. I think we should go ahead and tell the results of the polls.
Would you like?
Yeah.
I was
I
actually
mean, because
just.
we're wrapping up like kind of the movie
Well, I was
part
just.
of the. Of
I was
the
just
show.
adding because we
Wondering
did
if you were
have
gonna
some
have
more.
that.
So let me go ahead and finish. If you want to introduce,
Okay,
because I just have to make sure that there's. I was actually adding the last of them as
getting
as
it, tallying
you,
it
so,
up. Okay, the final the counts are.
Well,
this
I have
should be like a lecture.
I have my
night.
spreadsheet going, so I don't have to do any of the math. It's already like I have all the formulas in there, so I just have to input what the results were real quick.
I need some like news intro music, like some breaking news. This is breaking news. We're in with the final tally.
Oh man, they did jump up some. So let
Oh
me,
crap!
yeah,
they
let
did?
me yeah. So let me go ahead
They
and
changed.
oh yeah.
Did they change the results?
No, I'm pretty sure the same movies are probably going to be it, but I do want.
Okay, and we're just gonna give the percentages, but these are gonna be the 4 movies that we end up reviewing over the month of October. We're gonna have our normal regular movie review that we do every single week, plus our Halloween reviews that follow right after that. And that, or actually, I think we do it before our normal movie review. But That is, I'm trying to stretch.
Yeah,
This is what you do.
it's-
This is what you do in
are.
TV world.
Well, you did a good job because I got them all
You got
in.
the tallies?
go.
Here we go. Are we ready for them?
Let's do it.
All right. So,
Here are the movies we're reviewing.
yep. Big winner is still Casper
Oh,
with a whopping. It had a whopping 27% of the votes.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Coming in second place, and I'm a little saddened
This is going to
because
be even because if that was 27, unless
that was 27% of the votes. Second place is no longer Ernest.
What?
Oh,
It is now the Addams Family with 24% of the vote.
that's what I didn't.
God.
know.
So you have
I didn't
Casper, you have Addams Family. Coming in third now is Ernest Scared Stupid with 23% of the vote.
Okay.
So those were all three right there together.
Here's the funny thing: is this does? I mean, it doesn't matter really. I guess what place they fall in, because we're going to review all four.
We're going to review
Yeah.
them. Well, I was going to still go on with finally in fourth place, and this is where the percentages drop way down. Scooby-Doo had a nice had a nice
You don't want to review it.
it had a nice 10% of the vote.
Oh,
10%.
do we have the percentages for the others?
Yeah,
too?
yeah.
Okay.
Halloween Town and Monster
Oh.
Squad tied with 8% of the vote each. They just barely, because Scooby Doo just barely edged them out with that 10%.
I gotta be honest, I don't even know what the
Okay.
hell Monster Squad is.
I
don't know. I don't
it's
remember
an 80s
this
cult
movie.
classic.
It is.
It's an 80s cult classic.
It's just it's
Okay.
a bunch of friends that have to go after the Universal monsters
Yeah.
that take over their neighborhood.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like it is. I mean, it is made to Universal because it is
Yeah.
those. But they
Like
literally,
Wolfman and
yeah,
Frankenstein
Wolfman,
Dracula and
Dracula, Frankenstein,
The Mummy.
and the Swamp Thing.
Is-
and the
I thought it
Mummy.
was the Mummy.
I think all five of them. Because
Yeah,
the Swamp
yeah.
Thing's in there. Yeah.
Is this
so-
what they were going to re-release if they had done the Universal
Probably. They
Monster
probably would have done a Monster
Yeah,
Squad.
new
movie.
Monster Squad.
Man, that could have been great. But Universal's just
No, it would have had
they're
Tom
stupid.
Cruise in it.
So there we have it. Casper, Ernest Scared Stupid, the Addams Family. Well, technically Addams Family is second, but whatever. Scooby Doo.
There it is. are the
Monster
movies
Squad
we're
didn't get
reviewing.
it, and neither did Halloween Town. So
I'm not
We
too.
can, here's the thing: just because these movies didn't win this year doesn't mean we won't review them another year.
Yeah, to be yes, that's true, and also to be faithful, let's review them in that order. I think we should
in
do
the
'em
order they won.
Yeah.
That would put Casper first.
Or wait,
Addams
wait, wait,
Family
or should we
second.
save the best
Best for last?
Yeah, Casper would be last.
So you want
Yeah.
to start with number 4 then?
Yeah.
That would be Scooby Doo. The first one would be we'd be reviewing next week would be Venom and Scooby Doo.
I can't think
that
of anything
works.
better.
This is gonna
That
be
works.
great.
It's like they pull the mask off Venom and like, you pesky kids.
Yeah.
I would have
Let
gotten
there
away
be
with
ca-
it too.
Venom,
the
Let There
shop
Be
owner.
Carnage, and then the Scooby Doo movie.
It's
Okay.
freaking Woody Harrelson is Venom too.
That's gonna be great. That means if we go in that order, that would mean No Time to Die would be paired with Ernest Scared Stupid, that could be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Halloween Kills would be paired with the Addams Family, which is kind of bizarre, and then Dune would be paired with Casper. So
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So-
So that's how we're doing it,
Yeah.
guys. Those are the movies we're reviewing this month.
coming up, yeah,
Stacked
Yeah.
month coming up.
And then One Night in Soho is the last movie in October, but by the time that podcast airs, Halloween's over, so we don't have a
Yeah. Yep.
review.
Wait, how is
Halloween
that the
review.
last one in October then? Halloween's on a Sunday.
Because it airs that Friday,
What about
Halloween
Dune?
Sunday.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Dune
yeah.
And then
comes
that
out-
following
that's right.
Tuesday, we
Dune
don't have
comes
that
But
out
we
in October.
review it in November.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll be
it'll
reviewing
be
it in
in
November.
November.
It's just the last film release because there's like 5 weeks in October.
So
We just-
what gets paired with Dune? Because that's October.
That was Casper.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
okay.
October 22nd.
Okay,
That's
okay.
the last review we'll have in the month of October. But
Just follow us on all of our social media right there at the bottom of your screen. Red Moon Book, Red Moon Tweet, Red Moon Picks, and Red Moon Productions on YouTube because we're going to give you all the updates on there. You can tune in each and every single week to get the updates so that you know what we're reviewing and you can watch it too. Now,
All right.
I think we're ready to move
yeah,
into
let's move right along.
our relationship segment.
Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above.
And a thing called love.
Oh.
Went a little deeper that time. And I thought, hey, why not? Let's get a little deep.
wanted to game over.
Throw a little Mario,
Mario.
in there.
I just thought love, relationships, happiness,
Like Bill Paxton's
game over.
best line.
That
It's like,
is.
oh, you're in a relationship, you're getting married. Game over.
Game over, man. Hey, it's just every time it follows that.
You should have
Yep.
that one on here.
I should.
You should.
Yes.
All right, guys, let's talk about relationships.
Yeah, please.
Keith, you actually came up with this topic.
I did.
It was a good
I
one.
like it. I like it.
Let's
Well,
introduce
because
it.
as I was telling you, well, I actually already mentioned that on the show, I babysitted like my nieces and nephew.
Babysitted?
Or you babysat?
There you go.
Babysitted.
I'm glad I wasn't the only
Yeah.
one that caught that.
I,
Sorry.
I babysitted my nieces and nephew, and of course, entertaining them. And it was cool weather this week, and getting into the Halloween spirit. We watched we watched the first 3 Halloween Towns, which
Over
are
and
arguably the
over
only
and
good
over
one.
again.
The fourth one is terrible. We watched like 10 minutes of Hocus Pocus and then went back to Halloween Town. And then we watched Scooby-Doo. So it was one of those things where watching Halloween Town with them, I was like, man, I grew up watching this. And then, of course, I already told you all that I watch Tales from the Crypt around Halloween every year because I own all 7 seasons. And that was something I watched with my grandparents growing up, even though they're not for children in any way, shape, or form. I still watched it with my grandparents. And it's one of those things that a lot of things I like and traditions that I carry came from, of course, my parents and grandparents. And now, like me and my sister, and we share those same traditions with my nephews, her kids, and just the younger generation. And it's just funny how obviously you acquire your own taste in things, but at the same time, a lot of what you like does come from what you grew up with and the traditions that are passed down to you.
Very true.
So I was like, that's a fun topic, is what you share and pass on with the younger generation, different traditions. So I thought we could talk about that stuff.
Yeah. And could it be things we've either, like you said, already passed on like to our nieces and nephews or
Yeah.
our children, or could it also be even things that we intend to?
Well, anything. I mean,
Because there's obviously, I don't have
anything-
children yet.
Anything that you obviously
about,
inherited
yeah.
in a way, whether it's something you like or something physical that
Traditions
you
or
were
something,
given,
yeah.
Anything you inherited from the generations before you that you're going to impart upon the generation after you
My
because you
dad-
want them to carry that.
My dad handed down heart disease.
That is, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have heart disease.
Yeah.
Well, he's passing it on.
So
Well, to be
Hereditary.
fair, it did not start with your dad. So
That's true. It started with his dad.
But no.
maybe before
Okay,
that,
Maybe
yeah.
before that.
So not genes, but memes. Should we put it in those terms?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I only reason I say that is because I thought of Metal Gear Solid 2
Definitely.
when they talk about that you
Memes.
pass on like your memories.
Definitely for me,
Yeah.
like Tales from the Crypt is something I'll definitely not now because unlike my grandparents who didn't care, I'm definitely not going to show my nieces and nephews something that has nudity and the F word. And I mean, it was an HBO series.
Yeah.
It was very
Yeah.
adult.
We weren't sensitive like that when we were kids.
No.
Like I don't understand what's
I'm-
kids' problems
I'm
today.
not gonna.
Everybody's
It's
sensitive.
funny because I think, and I have no problem with this because I've seen it with my
Tales from
sister
the
and my
Crypt was
brother.
the first boobies I ever saw.
Yeah, same. What was that one we
First
watched?
Demon
Night.
Demon Night.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the,
that movie
was it
had
that-
he goes into that room and it's like a whole brothel full
Yeah.
of naked
Yeah,
women. Yeah.
and they're all in there, and I was just like, "Well, let's rewind that, and watch it again."
Now, see, was that Demon Night or Bordello of Blood?
Demon Knights came out first, and then
Oh,
Bordello
okay.
of Blood came out. But
Okay.
Bordello of Blood has nudity
But
too.
see,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
like I've seen this with my brother and my sister, and the way they're
Demon Knights? With
yeah,
your brother
yeah,
and your
I've seen-
sister?
yeah, their little nieces
I can understand
and
maybe
nephews.
I'm just
Chip,
gonna
I
go
can
ahead
see you
and
at-
say
yeah.
I do think we do need to have a unique weekly segment where it is what's the first boobies you ever saw.
That's fine.
Would
that be in the
That's got me
relationship
thinking
segment?
now. What movie did I see boobies in the first time?
Either Demon Knights or Titanic.
See, for mine was Critters 2.
Oh.
So-
I didn't see that one first.
Yeah.
I'm honestly, I think mine
I'd
was
have to
Halloween.
look. Oh,
Halloween.
yeah. I
So the
forgot
part where
about-
you see anything you like?
Here's the thing, though.
And I think it was because I was up late, like, or it was on the Scribbly channels.
I always-
that were
Yeah. Oh,
up
yeah.
cable.
yeah. I always
Yeah.
saw
Like, no, no,
Hall-
no, saw a nipple.
No.
That-
Yeah.
okay,
I saw it in a
full-fledged.
real movie
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
before I even knew what
Nightmare on Elm
Movies were.
Street.
This is
the
totally
scramble
not-
porn came later.
Yeah.
That's true, and I wouldn't even count that.
Here's the thing.
You
Most,
can't count
most
that.
of them were horror movies because as a kid,
Yes.
like my
horror
grandparents
movies
watched.
always had nudity in
Well,
it.
that was the point. They had to throw
Yeah,
that in
yeah.
there because you got to get the teenagers to go to the theater.
Well,
Well, yeah.
the teens
like-
that were having sex and not watching the kids at camp were always the ones that died first.
See,
Exactly.
And, you
See,
know.
this is good though. This is something that you're gonna hand
We're
down.
gonna pass on.
Yeah, we're gonna
is
hand
your
boobies down.
knowledge. No, your knowledge of film.
Yes.
Like, hand that down
Yes.
to
Ooh, that's
somebody.
true.
Like I absolutely, because there's things like Tales from the Crypt I love, and like I said on Sean, it's like it's not on HBO Max, and for a series that used to be so like high profile to not be on like HBO Max's service when it was an HBO Max series, I'm like, man, it's like almost like people are kind of forgetting now, and I'm like, I'm not gonna let that happen.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
that's
I know
actually
what Tales
that's-
from the Crypt is.
I bring it up all the time in terms of streaming, and it's like this is something that I thought about in terms of kind of disappointment with trying to pass something on.
Yeah.
like I fell in love with the fact that Paramount Plus has a crap ton of Nickelodeon stuff on it.
They do.
So I was watching Kablam, Legends of the Hidden Temple, Salute Your Shorts, Hey Dude, and I turned on an episode of Kablam over at my brother's house with my niece and nephew, Kate and Tripp, and they didn't care. They weren't watching it.
That's what
But
it
they'll
hurts.
freaking turn on Paw Patrol and they'll watch the same movie like you
Kablam's
said.
so much
over and
better.
over
It
and
is
over
so
again.
much better. But again, there's certain things that I'm realizing. It's like probably there were, even though I know there's definitely things I remember from what my parents passed on, more so like holiday traditions and whatnot that I love, which is why we ended up doing the dishes one time to Johnny Mathis. You know,
But
it's like it happened.
Here's the thing. I feel like yes, there might have been things my parents tried to get me into that I didn't like, but there's a lot like. I like things from my generation and every generation before me, and I
True,
feel like that's something
but not
nowadays.
everything sticks.
Not everything,
And that's what I'm
sticks.
saying is I'm realizing that I loved some of those things because they take me back to my childhood, but the childhood that they're experiencing has no connection to that. So I can't be mad that they don't like it in the same way that I did.
And I
And I
agree.
get that, and I'm okay
Yeah.
with that.
But I feel like
it is weird
more
because there
so
are certain
now-
things that I was like, I mean, just even Kablam had like Life with Loopy and Prometheus and Bob.
But that's what, I
and,
think like
and the
there's
Action
things,
League now, and I'm like, okay, how do they not find this funny if they
Kids-
come from the same like
Yeah,
humor?
I don't feel like just from my kids, like I don't feel like they really care what I like.
Yes.
Or what I like.
No-
like
no
I did
kid
when I was a
does.
kid. No,
But I
no,
did
see
when I
that's the
was-
thing. When I was a little boy,
Absolutely.
I loved watching freaking Andy Griffith's show with my
Yeah.
dad.
Three Stooges
And it's like
with my dad.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just that's why I like Andy Griffith was because my dad
Okay, but
did.
if they watched Gunsmoke, I hated that.
Yeah, and like I said,
And they
there's
loved
things that don't stick, but I
Yeah.
feel like this generation now, like modern generations now, more so than we were, aren't as open to older things. Like
No,
we were.
no.
I'm not saying they're not open to anything that's older. I just feel like they definitely don't take on as much as when I was a kid. Like everything, like my grandparents watched, my parents watched. I mean, I still love a lot of that older stuff, and I just feel like if you were to show kids now like Yogi Bear. I mean, if it's the
Yeah.
live action version, they'd be like, "Oh, it's kind of funny." But they,
freaking
yeah.
Bullwinkle. My dad and I
Yeah,
watched
I love Rocky
Bullwinkle.
and I loved
that.
Rocky
Yep.
and Bullwinkle, and I think kids now would be like, "This is lame." I'm like, well,
Yep.
I'm sorry that it's not all flashy and
And
unintelligent.
there's still time.
And maybe
They're
that's it.
little.
Do you think some of it has to do with like the visuals? Because I know showing some of these
Yes.
older films to my son, like we watched the Superman with Christopher Reeves, and like watching that, he's just like,
What is this?
yeah, he's like,
seen
this
Avengers.
is Superman. Yeah, yeah. Well, no, he hasn't seen
Oh,
Avengers
okay.
yet. But I'm just saying that's like I don't know if it looks too fake. Or what?
No, I do-
just
I
don't
think you're
know.
right.
Is
I
it
think
just
there
not?
is-
Back
well-
then, I thought it looked like the guy was really flying.
Yes.
Yeah.
But apparently, it I don't know if it's just visually not.
I honestly,
enough.
I have that worry as far as like, you know, and even now, I, as a little kid, wasn't so attached to Star Wars, but I still had it like this all-inspiring,
my
like,
kids can't stand Star Wars.
right. And that's
They
crazy.
will not sit
just
and watch
break
it.
my heart.
No,
But no,
I would have to abort my kid right there.
I think it's
5
that-
years old and
it's hard,
all.
it's hard to, yeah, I was gonna say it's hard to do when they're 8. But
Don't worry, we're fighting for that.
Yeah,
yeah, that's true.
it's like look at the flowers.
Oh, you don't like
Oh
Star
my
Wars?
God.
Okay.
Wow.
I had to throw in a Walking Dead quote there.
Wow. Yeah.
But no,
Look at
I
the
also think
flowers.
it's attention span. I definitely. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't tell you how
Everybody
many
has
times.
ADHD nowadays.
Well, I'm victim of it too. I mean, I do
but
it to
they'll sit
myself.
and watch. They'll watch a whole
They
other
will.
movie.
They'll watch YouTube all day long.
Well,
Yep.
I mean, they'll watch
Or
a
kids
2-hour
playing
movie.
with other toys that they want.
Yeah.
That's stupid. I don't under. There are okay. I'm sorry, but
I
that's,
used to agree
that's
that
where I'm
was
going to draw the
stupid.
line. And maybe I'm saying this because I don't have children, and sometimes it will be the hey, are they shutting up?
Go play with your own toys.
Then
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
because there's going to be moments like that, and I know the iPad has become the new pacifier,
Yeah.
and I know that
Yep.
I'm going to resent that. Or I know a lot of people are resenting that now, but at the same time, I do think that there is some kind of way in which we either have to roll that back so that we're not habitually, putting that on our children.
Yeah.
We're not giving into it and letting that take over. But at the same time, it's like, okay, generations do change. And yeah, I hope there are certain other deeper things other than just like nostalgic movies or entertainment, but also more traditions that I want to pass on that I hope stick.
Yeah.
And that I think sometimes comes from doing it and not thinking about it, but realizing after the moment's already passed, and because you maybe didn't put as much emphasis on it, those are the things that stick with your kids more.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I know if me, my brother, and my sister talked about our childhood growing up together, we'd probably have vastly different memories than what our parents remember of us growing up.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. It only makes sense because we were kids and they were adults. But I guess, are there certain stipulations that you would absolutely say, all right, my kid's going to have to like this, or if they don't like this, then...
Oh, it breaks my heart that my oldest son doesn't like rock and roll. Like, it's killing me. Because I
He doesn't
listen.
like loud noises though, so I can kind of see that.
And I'm hoping that I'm getting my drum set back from the church that I sold it to.
Nice.
So I'm hoping that maybe once there's some musical instruments in the house,
He
maybe
starts,
that will
like,
kind of
playing.
change. But it's weird because like he'll listen to like some of the contemporary Christian music that we listen to has rock beats and guitars and
It's
stuff
more
in it.
pop, though.
It's
Yeah.
pop. That's right.
Yeah.
But if I put on freaking Whitesnake or something like
No,
that,
yeah.
like he just doesn't. He don't like it. But he'll listen to freaking One Republic. And hip hop songs and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, see, I don't like it. And it's breaking my heart that because I grew up listening to that because my mom listened to it.
Yeah.
And my dad never listened to it. He listened to like 60s and Creedence and Zeppelin, that kind of rock. And so I like both of those. I like the 80s and 90s hair bands.
Yeah.
And I like the classic rock, which the 80s and 90s hair bands are classic rock now.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I'm
That's
old.
very true.
But, my son just doesn't like it. But going back to something other than entertainment, I would say we need to, one of the things people need to be passing on to their kids is freaking manners. Because kids
Absolutely.
nowadays, they don't have manners. They don't say thank you. They don't hold doors for people. They don't... they're just rude and selfish.
Yeah.
I guess it's
narcissistic.
Yes, everything is the number one picture that people take is the selfie.
Yeah.
So
we've kind of embedded it in our
we
culture.
live in a narcissistic.
Well, and even
culture.
in that, I would even argue that that's kind of talk about the iPhone and smartphone generation and social media culture. It's like it's completely saturated.
Yeah.
In the idea of what do I want, and I get what I want when I want it.
Yeah.
And it's just this constant bombardment. I mean, that just recently in the news, they were talking about the whole Instagram for kids being pushed back because it's shown not to be healthy. And I'm like, well, duh.
Yeah.
Some
It's not
crap's
healthy
just
for
common
freaking
sense.
adults.
Yeah, exactly.
God.
And so it's funny because I'm like, oh, so you're willing to call it out when they... I just think it's so backwards, the kind of crap they put on the news where we're supposed to care about the kids now in this sense, but not in the general sense of what are they watching and what are they consuming. And here's the thing, I kind of was bringing up earlier when we were talking about like different films we watched when we were a kid. And definitely there were films that I snuck and watched when maybe I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
But even then, I do know that like my brother and my sister and their spouses are much more strict with their kids than I think we even were, our parents were with us.
Yeah,
and
I
I
definitely am.
And I don't have a problem with that. I just know that I think, and maybe comes from having seen them like growing up ahead of me, and my parents being more strict with them in terms of whereas I got a little bit more rope.
Yeah.
But also I know my parents
You're
were
always
the
stricter
babies
with the first,
and I'm the baby too. So I'm like I kind of feel like I'm gonna fit that medium of allowing my kids to kind of get away with a little bit because I did find solace in the fact that I think the childhood I grew up with of having a mom and dad at home and having rooted and very grounded, morals and values, impressed upon us and ingrained in us, but then also knowing too that there was the faith in knowing that was what mattered and that foundation held. because of seeing, having that loving family to come home to every night and being around it, ultimately didn't shake it when I did watch other movies or listen to other music
was also
and
gonna
know that was just part of something that was cultural.
Make a point about being stricter too. I also feel like it's not that some of the things we watch, like Demon Knights, is appropriate for kids, because it's not.
That would definitely wasn't.
But nowhere.
And I only watched it at your grandpa's
But here's
house.
but nowhere in that movie does
your
it
fault.
promote the debauchery as a good thing. And granted, we shouldn't be watching it, but it doesn't
Very
promote
true.
it as any of that being good.
Very true.
Nowadays, you have to kind of be a little bit more stricter, because some of the stuff they sneak in, like with Candyman, it's like you don't know what type of moral things they'll put in there, immoral things they'll put in there that
Oh, it's
say
in kid
this
shows.
is okay. Yeah,
It's in
it is in
kid
kid
shows.
shows. They sneak stuff into kid shows now. It's like, well, this is okay. And it's like, no, it's not. No, like when we were growing up, we didn't have that. It's like, yes, there are things that were inappropriate, but they were still painted as
well,
this
like
is
you
wrong.
said,
Yeah,
when you're
true.
seeing the drunken teenager kids having sex in a horror film, and they're the first ones that get killed.
Yeah, it's like don't drink and have sex.
Well, I was gonna say, it's illicitly saying
Exactly.
they're bad. See, this is what happens.
Now
and of
it's
course,
like,
it was like
fornicate all you want. It's
Yeah.
okay.
The good girl that gets picked on, she's the one who survives.
Well, exactly. No, and it's funny because they were these horror tropes and cliches, and even movies like Scream that played off that fact.
Yeah.
And then they kind of twist it. I don't have a problem with that, because that is part of evolving culture.
Yeah.
But to go a complete 180 and be like, well, now now our culture is just completely everything that was before. Let's turn it on its head.
Yeah.
And let's say there's no
Well,
consequences.
like
for
you
that.
said, one of the things that worked for you and your brother and sister was that at home you had those roots, you had a mom and dad at
Yes.
home, but also you didn't have the teachers in school working against your parents.
True.
You
Yep.
didn't have the politicians in this country leading it working against your parents' their ideals and their beliefs. Everybody
Yes.
was more on the same page. Now, what I teach my kids at home is being completely refuted as soon
Yes.
as they step through the door at school.
It was a
So
blanket
it's
statement.
they're working against me.
You could make
Yeah.
the blanket statement when we were growing up that South Park was bad. WWF at the time, when it was called that,
Was
was
considered-
trash.
yeah.
But it's like, but again, and that was the whole thing, where there was this edgy cutout of, well, of course you want to go against the grain. Of course everybody wants to kind of dip their toe in that water of, oh, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
But it was like there was always this healthy antidote of, but there was always an adult figure there to say, that's bad, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
Even from the societal pressure. Those are completely eroded nowadays.
Oh, no,
Now it's embraced to step outside and go
Yes.
against the
If
home.
you ma- if
or
it-
just
or
do
it's,
whatever
well,
you
well,
feel.
why?
If it
is-
makes you happy, it's not immoral.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
It's like, why is Johnny saying those words?
Right.
What is it that's happening? What is he going through? What feelings is he dealing with
Right.
that's causing him to say those words? Never mind, those words are bad and he shouldn't say them.
Right.
It's like
I
that.
mean,
Maybe you should start there.
It's a
instead of
complete social
overanalyzing everything.
eradication of the social fabric, and it really is. That's kind of going back to the point we were making at the beginning of the show with Candyman. Is it's like when you start creating these riffs, it's not just from, oh, we want to be rebels without a cause. It's damaging and evil because it's literally saying we are trying to rewrite
Yeah.
the very ideas and things we hold dear. Those truths we hold to be self-evident. It's like we want to eradicate that and get rid
the
of it
thing.
completely. Yeah, the thing.
the thing.
But it is. It's under. I think it's very dangerous and again evil for you to know better and then to impress upon those generations that have not come to literally use them as almost experiments to say, well, this worked for us and this helped give me a proper framework.
What
But
might work
what
for
would
them?
happen if we just completely got rid of that framework altogether?
Yep.
What wouldn't that be cool? It's like, well, says the person who has the framework.
Yep.
But when you do it to somebody who is innocent, who doesn't have any framework, how damaging and twisted is that? How much more evil can you get? And I think that is what we're facing right now across the landscape of America in general, but across the world, really. When you have the sensible adults in the room who are not willing to stand up and say, no, I'm putting my foot down, this is wrong.
Yeah.
But they're all willing to go along with this. well, we don't know.
Yeah, the whole gender thing is a huge.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that is. I don't want to get.
I know.
deep
I
down
don't
it,
want to
but
go
you know
down
what
the
I'm saying?
rabbit hole.
We
right.
grew up knowing the difference between boys and girls,
It was
men
simple.
and women. Yeah, male and female. Now those same people
Yeah.
that grew up knowing this
Yep.
are like, well, maybe for you it's different.
We're gonna
And
make
it's
it
like, no,
malleable.
if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Well, again, it's this twisted, sick fascination with I know better, or I at least because I have this foundation for myself.
Yeah.
I don't have to
I can
present
screw
that
it up for someone else.
right, and it is. It's freaking sick. It's
Yeah.
a sick, twisted thought that you could just say, well, this doesn't matter for anybody else in the culture. And I think that ultimately is the epitome of what this conversation and about the things we pass on. You know, if there's any kind of shred of hope that I have in humanity, it's that those who I think really have these traditional family values are the ones who are looking to carry it on through having children and through sharing those values with their children. Because again, you want when you have a kid, when you have people that have these families and they love their children, they want them to grow up and be successful. They want them to be decent human beings. And of course, you have broken families out there, and you have people who
don't
are broken.
love their children.
True. No, you do.
Well,
Sadly,
when
you
have
do.
these families that love their children.
And then
so,
there's
but there are.
There are those who
There
don't.
are though. Sadly, I mean,
There are those who literally use their children as just another paycheck, from
Yeah.
the government or
Yeah.
whatnot. I mean, however you put it, they don't care about their children.
I always hate the ones that don't view their children as people, just an extension of like themselves and their property. So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
my child. Like
Trophy child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's sad, but it's true. And I think I grew up with those in my family. I'm not saying it's just people who want to start a
Me too.
family are all pure. No, I mean I'm just saying you have to have a concerted effort to make these changes culturally and societally, and you have to. It's a conscious effort every single day when you are purposefully going out in the world and saying, okay, I want my children to be decent human beings. And it's like, again, I think there is a way to be too restrictive to where then they rebel. And I think we've seen that before, but I also think too that if you don't give them any framework and you completely again, what happens to a child who is on an island who has no influence at all? It's going to die, it's going to suffer. It has to have some direction. It's not, it's cruel and terrible to put them in a situation and in a world where they just create their own reality. That's especially when you come from a world that is rooted and grounded.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
That's hard to do in a world that says you can make your own truth.
Yes. Oh, I hate that. If there's one phrase I wish, YOLO was the phrase years ago that I wanted to ban because it's stupid.
Now it's your truth.
True. Yeah, your truth is the one phrase I want to get rid of. There is no your truth
There's
or
just the
my
truth.
truth. It is the truth. If there is no such thing as the truth, it's not true.
Yep.
It's not true. It's false.
There's just like it's either factual or it's not.
Yes.
I mean,
all right, I know. We can carry on for hours.
But again, these are the things that we need to pass down.
And we're doing it every week on the show.
That's right.
Yeah.
On the
That's
podcast.
on the pod.
You may not even be a child. You may be an adult and you're hearing this for the first time. If so, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But if it is, keep listening. Maybe you'll learn something.
Go home, watch Tales from the Crypt, and see some boobies.
That's right. There's boobies in a lot of things.
Boobies.
Lots of movies.
I
have
think
boobies.
it's in King
I
Kong.
saw her boobies, and I like
them
those too.
All right.
Yeah, I know. We're done.
It's 10:32.
Oh, dang. We went way over, guys.
Go
I'm
home
sorry.
and watch Hubie Halloween.
That's actually not bad.
not
That's a good. How did that not pop up on our?
It's not a
list?
family-friendly
It's not a
Halloween.
family friendly. That's right.
That's one of those that I would say is in the questionable. Like, it has family parts in it, but
Yeah.
even like what people consider family values has gotten way
Yes.
overblown now.
Yes.
Alrighty, guys. Yes, thank you all so much for joining us again every single Tuesday live here on Facebook and YouTube. You can catch us 9 p.m. Tuesday nights right there. Like, share, subscribe. Red Moon Book, Red Moon Tweet, Red Moon Picks, and search for Red Moon Productions on YouTube. We thank y'all so much for joining us.
What if they don't want to go the social media route?
That's true.
Someone wants to say, "Hey guys, let me send you a long letter through the interwebs."
Electronic mail is what they call it now.
That's what they call it?
Electronic mail.
that
That just seems so outdated.
Tesla.
now.
Is that something we
They
should pass
invented that.
on?
We could probably get rid of electronic mail. at
That's
this
true.
point.
We should all just go back to handwriting
I want to.
I can't tell you how much I
snail
click
mail.
on
Cursive.
unsubscribe.
in cursive.
Oh, Talk about something they forced us, and they said everybody writes in this, and
Everybody
nobody
needs
does.
to- You have
you
to
do.
know how to
you
do-
sign your name with it.
Yeah, you
But
have
that's
to.
the only thing.
That's all they
it's a
wanted.
signature.
Well, that's all
wanted
they
you to
teach
be
in
able to
school
sign the
now.
checks.
They got rid of cursive and only teach them how to do their name.
Here's the weird
Yeah.
thing: is I used to not believe it, and then I started writing, and there were times where I would string letters together, and I was like, "Oh crap, this is faster."
It's faster and easier.
It is.
I think cursive.
Now,
should
I
still
don't
be
write
taught.
everything in cursive.
No, but
My dad's got actually really.
I do
good
think
handwriting.
it's something that should be taught, and that they're just like, oh, you don't need it no more because everything's electronic. Even your signature now is
iPad
electronic.
just went on
brain
the frets
farted.
there. I don't know what it did.
Uh-oh.
Showed a
It's probably
white
like, I'm done. I've
Showed
met
a
my
white
limit.
screen.
No.
Safari can't load. I don't know.
You got that iOS 15?
It's
Apparently
because I said
crashed.
Candyman earlier.
said
I can see my reflection. Is that does that count?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, it does because they
Say it 5 times and find out what
the
happens.
guy sees his reflection.
Candyman.
Well, Sean's gonna die tomorrow or tonight sometime. I don't know.
It'll be out of nowhere because you can't see him unless you're looking at. If you start seeing him in the reflection, and you're, uh-oh.
No. He's not there.
Alrighty, guys, that's gonna do it. We didn't even
Keith's looking
say
at
the
me
email.
serious. He's just like, you shouldn't have done that.
He should have passed that on.
Keith's like,
I'm actually, and I don't know why, but I'm over here thinking.
scoot away from Sean.
No, I have no idea why it popped in my head, but I'm actually over here thinking about the fact that I can't even think of his name. Captain Kirk is going into space now.
oh
yeah,
William
Shatner.
William
Shatner,
Shatner. Yeah,
yeah.
Jeff Bezos got him.
I'm
in
just
there.
sitting here
Yeah.
thinking, I'm like,
It's the only way he could sell anybody on Blue Origin.
I guarantee you, he will say that line from in space.
He has to.
I
He has to.
guarantee you, he'll be like, "There's something."
oh,
on
I
the
don't.
wing."
I think it'll be a Star Trek line. I don't think it'll be.
You think
the,
it? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's
yeah,
not a
yeah.
Star Trek line.
No, that's
it's
Twilight Zone.
Twilight
Twilight
Zone.
Zone.
Yeah.
That's where he kind of
I
started.
hope it's a Star Trek line.
I think it's gonna be a Star Trek line. It'd be
Oh,
like
man.
to boldly go.
No, it's
Oh,
probably
my
it's probably,
God,
it's probably
he
going to be
does
like
it.
an Expedia commercial.
Oh.
Or what was that one he did? Well, it was Expedia.
All
wasn't it?
I think, as soon as I saw it though, I was like, oh, so Blue Origin is just in the business of launching egomaniacs and pompous douches into space now
Yeah.
because that's what
Hey,
Jeff
hey, hey.
Bezos and
Yeah, but William Shatner's a cool douchebag.
No, he's probably a
he's-
rude douche.
I think-
Hey, look, that's
yeah.
why they designed the ship to
They-
look like a
they-
giant
they
penis.
Pretty much, like even the whole cast of Star Trek, it said he was kind of just a full of himself guy. So
Doesn't surprise me.
I mean,
don't
they
know.
made the show about him, so what do you
Yeah.
expect?
Yeah, went to his head.
they
create
killed him off, and he
narcissists.
tried to create. Like he wrote his own Star Trek novel about how he was revived because he wasn't happy that his character died admirably. Like he had a heroic death in the series, and they're like,
that is
he's
pretty
like, I'm gonna
bad.
write my own.
That's megalomaniac right there. He is.
I mean, that's Zack Snyder.
that's I mean,
Yeah.
that's what Zack
that's
Snyder.
Donald Trump right there. You know. Alrighty, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Yes, we've already said all the great things.
We did.
So just
we didn't mention. We started
Well,
talking about
it's
it. We didn't. Say
RM
that.
podcast at Red Moon Productions.
That's it. He got it.
We never said it.
He got it. He gets it.
I don't know how we went into this whole loop.
This show's
about
over.
Candyman.
We gotta end this thing.
That's gonna do it, guys.
Train
I
wreck.
am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and
Captain Kirk.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.